mind to be greater than the situation they found themselves in. Correct? So that means if we have some type of knowledge, some type of understanding, then we should get ourselves out of certain situations. Correct? All right. Education takes off the chains of bondage to a better, successful life. Education causes a person to stand strong, feel good, and worth something. Then I said, I noticed that the people who never go to college or enhance their education to a higher degree are always the ones who feel like they cannot provide for themselves and their family. In majority of situations, that's how people feel, right? I'm not talking about just people here, but if we go outside and, I don't know if y'all heard people like, we just talk like, yo, man, I ain't going to college, so I really didn't get this. So I want you to go to college so you can be better than I was. And so you can go there and you can raise up and you can keep going. All right? That's usually what we hear people say. Well, I heard people say that. That's just coming from what I have observed. All right? And so then I said, on the flip side of that, from also what I have observed, I said, those who chase after education to better themselves are the ones who stand strong and firmly supporting themselves, and also they support others and give other people the leeway when they got to go through the struggle. They show them, yo, you need to take this avenue, you need to take this avenue. If you want to deal with business or you want to deal with any kind of economics, you got to know somebody who knows the game, correct? Because if you don't know nobody who knows the game, you're going to be what? Trying to reinvent the wheel. And there's no need for that. All you really got to do is watch what they did wrong and what they did right and apply it, correct? That's all it is, experience. And so then we deal with the book of the Art of War by Sun Tzu. He said this, the strong lead the weak and the wise lead the strong. So that means no matter in what society we live in, you're always going to have the weak person. They're always going to be dominated by the strong. But the strong have to submit themselves to the wiser one. Why? Because that wiser one teaches them what they need to do to benefit their own selves. Correct? And then once you're wise, you automatically get what? Teachers. You grow after other people, and you start to put a mark. And so from there, you can take yourself to where you need to get to. All right? And so that's what I just brought out in this paper. But I say that to say this. When we deal with Ezra HaShofet, Ezra the scribe, he took Israel from just being herders and shepherds to being a mighty and a scholarly people. That was the golden age of education when it comes to Israel. Because from there, you see that all of the wisest men that Nebuchadnezzar took into Babylon, Ezra the scribe brought them back to Israel. And from there, that's what we saw, that the Torah was being read out loud. And the people wept. And they cried. And Ezra said, why are y'all crying? They said, because we have never heard this thing before. They said, we never heard it before. And the same thing with us. When most of us first hear this law, when some of us first hear the Torah being read, some bring tears, some rejoice, some feel a happy feeling. Some people just stand there and be like, yo, this is the thing right here. I dig it. Coming from where I came up from in Temple Bethel, they didn't just read this Torah, y'all. No, it wasn't just reading the Torah. You heard the Torah being chanted, and somebody there read it. Most of the time you heard it being chanted. If you never heard the Torah being chanted, you got to hear that thing. That's a very beautiful thing to hear. And you don't ever want to miss a Torah service after you heard it being chanted. I know y'all heard Gabriel chant to take you back like, oh, I'm about to be in the land a couple more days. That's what it do to you. And not just that, but when you actually hear like a keyboard being played while somebody is chanting or while somebody is reading, have y'all heard or experienced that? That'll make you cry. And if you heard it, testify to it, that'll make you cry. You'll be like, ooh, what a mighty God we serve, yo. Let's keep reading. You don't want to stop. Especially when a person can read it and they can articulate the words with it. You'll be like, ooh, wee. Everybody was saying you back in the land. But that's how we have to be. And we got to bring that characteristic. We got to bring that back. We got to set the standard. Because if the standard is not set, it's going to keep falling and falling. And that's what the Torah does. The Torah commands that you shall not fall. And if you do fall, you want to get right back up. It says the righteous have how many times? 7 times to fall. 7 times. Creator always give you the opportunity. You can make the mistake, but as long as you learn from it and don't go back to it, the Creator said, you what? You good. You good. You good. Don't worry about it. He said, I do not desire in the death of the wicked, but that they turn back from their evil ways. But he said, if the righteous believe from doing righteousness and going to evil, then we want to have some problems because they already know the deal. All right? And so now I want to take us on something that was put together by our teacher, our sage, Judah Hanasi. Judah Hanasi was a very intellectual, very intelligent person. If you don't know who Judah Hanasi is, please go look him up. Judah Hanasi is one of our people. He's our sage. All right? He showed what it really meant to be a prince among your people. He showed what it really meant to have an authority when your people was going all kind of crazy. See, Judah Hanasi said the students of the teachers is becoming short because they have to go through all kind of things. They're working every day. They're trying to make a living. This is during the time to where Israel was being dispersed. They said the students of knowledge, the students of Israel is going short. He said we have to bring back an order to keep the students here so that we can have teachers. Because if we don't have teachers, we don't fully understand the law. How do we know that to be true? We go back in the time of Ezra. When Ezra brought the people before him, did they keep Yom Kippur on the right day? No, they did not. But they kept it. Why? So they can understand this law. See, it's one thing to read the law, but then it's another thing to live the law. When you live the law, you can apply it and it's better for you. To just read the law, hey, you just read it. You just is black and white. Black and white is not healthy. Living in color is healthy. Right? Because when you live in color, you get to observe and see other things that's right about you. To live in black and white, that means your mind has become distorted. Your mind has been compressed together. You need your mind to explore. You need your mind to go. Correct? So now, when we deal with that, right? And we deal with Judah Hanasi, he said the oral teaching that was passed down from Moshe Rabbeinu is about to be forgotten because we are running out of teachers. We don't have enough students. And so this is what Judah Hanasi did. He compiled a book which we call the Mishneh Torah. This Mishneh Torah teaches us on different aspects of this Torah. The Mishneh Torah is divided into 7 parts. The first part deals with seed. It teaches about agriculture. So that means everybody who want to get into agriculture and you read certain laws and you're like, well, I don't really understand how I'm going to be successful in this. And the law is saying this thing. Mishneh Torah is there. The rulings of the sages, the ruling of the Sanhedrin is there for you. When you want to deal with the appointed seasons, it's there for you. When you want to deal with how you deal with relationships and how you deal with one another, it's fall under the Parshat Nashim, women. It's there for you. Then it has Kedoshim, holy things, that deals with everything dealing pertaining with the temple and dealing with all the holy artifacts. And then you have the laws of purity, and then you have the laws of damages when it comes to civil law and stuff like that. We need this book because we got to understand how we are to observe and how we are to practice these laws before they created. Perfect example. Our fathers back in the day, those who were alive during that time and those who even heard the stories, way back in the day, before we could really understand this law, how did they keep Sukkot? They literally put boots on their feet, right? And we know that's not what the law was talking about. The law said that you should dwell in boots for 7 days. Our fathers put boots on their feet for 7 days. And they wore it. That's something that was told to me. They like, this is what we did because we didn't have the pure understanding of it. But when they got the pure understanding of it, they did what? They got out the boots from their feet and started really dwelling in boots. And they began to understand it. That's stuff that we need. Those are things that we need to bring back. Why? Because when we bring back the teachings of our sages, the teachings of our fathers, which can put us in the right direction, then we don't really have to really worry about, man, we got to come up with laws for this, laws for this, laws for that. Nah. The oral law was there for that. The oral law is fluid. So that means it changes according to the time and according to the situation. The only reason it was written down is so the people won't forget it. So we can't lose sight of that. The only thing that don't change is this Torah. Every word inside there stays the same. But the piling of the Mishneh Torah, it moves with fluid. So when we being fluid with these things, we got to understand what's going on and how it moves during time and how every situation is different. Right? So now, we have what we call the Oz baked in. The Oz baked in is the leader, the head of the Sanhedrin. When there is a ruling that is being passed down or there is a debate on any type of thing, then the Sanhedrin, they begin to talk about it, they begin to argue over it like we do today. It's just that we don't have a one person to say, stop with the foolishness and just get back to the law. We just want to keep going and keep going and keep going until one person say, I'm going to break away from you, I'm going to break away from you, and we beef and camp. That's not what Torah is about. The Torah commands us to love your brother as yourself. Correct? It says, do not watch the bloodshed of your brother. And so if it says, don't watch the bloodshed of your brother, then that means there's certain things that you have to do and you have to get done immediately. To watch the bloodshed of your brother means that families begin to separate and people begin to beef. And then when you need that person, you can't call that person because you're beefing. What sense does that make? That means you'll never become a nation doing that. Yes, we turn back into the ways of our fathers. Because if we return back to the way of our fathers, then we can get things done. The Mishneh Torah is a very imperative part of our lives. And we got to understand it. All right? So the Al-Bayt then job was to make sure as long as the sages were arguing and fussing, he reminded them of the law. This is the law. Prime example. In the rest of Israel, there was a case, right? See, it's good that we get into these cases as well because these are some of the cases that we can handle in our own community as well. There was a case to where there was the divorce issue. And it said that men was giving their wives divorce bills, the laws of divorce, and the women was throwing their souls over the roof. They was committing suicide because of the fact that in the ancient times when women were when they was in houses and they was getting married, that was them, that was their life, that's all they knew. And so when their husband started divorcing them, they just went all kind of crazy and they started throwing their souls over the roofs. And so the Sanhedrin, the judges of Israel said, we have an issue. They said too many women is dying because of this divorce issue. And so the Al-Bayt then said, he read out the law and they started to talk about it. So this was the decision that they came up with. They said as long as the man writes the divorce bill and it gets to his wife, it don't have to be in her hand, but as long as it gets to her, then that law has been fulfilled. So that the women will not stop, so they wouldn't be jumping over the roofs killing each other because it was breaking their hearts. And so that's the thing that we have to understand. When there's a law inside our land or among our community to where people is taking their lives because it's being enforced, then that means we got to come up with something to make sure that life is being preserved. That's what our sages did. So our sages wicked because they come under writings and other histories called Talmud and Mishnah? No. We just got to get out of the mind state of race because race is what's killing them. Just because you see a white face put with it don't mean it's evil because you got to remember history. The Creator said what? He said, I put the wickedness, he said, I give the wicked the authority to rule over the land right now. Did he not say that in prophecy? Yeah. So understand what's going on. Understand that your history, see, I'll put it like this. The Tanakh is your book. That's your plate, right? You need that. That's your foundation. The Talmud, the Mishneh Torah, the Gemara, and all those things, those are your meat and potatoes. They gave you your plate, but they left you hungry. What kind of nonsense is that? Now you got the plate, start putting food on your plate so you won't go hungry. Because knowledge is power. And if you don't have knowledge, guess what? You're going to be led by the strong, and you're going to be led by the wise. You let people just come over you when you can be ruling yourself. So we ask ourselves, why is the Ashkenazi, the Jewish man, so up there? Why is he doing what he's doing? How he got the riches? How he in the industry? He took your meat and potatoes and left you with a plate. Get your meat and potatoes back. You don't let somebody just come take your meat and potatoes and you go hungry and you can't feed your family. What kind of nonsense is that? We got to get this stuff right. See, we need knowledge, wisdom, understanding to take ourselves higher. If we don't do those things, we're going to be stuck here. And with that, we got to understand what? Authority comes with that. So if you don't like somebody telling you what to do, then you need to do what? Go off to the side and try, listen to what I'm saying, try to keep Torah by yourself because you just can't do it. Anybody knows that. You can't keep Torah by yourself, right or wrong. You try to keep Torah by yourself, see how crazy you come up with all the opinions you get. Man, God, it says put fringes on the covers of my covers. All right, so I don't really got to put fringes on my clothes, on my blankets, and on my sheets. Come on, you're foolishness. Let's get this thing right. See, we had people asking questions. Well, do the Torah tell us how to make seats? Well, no, it don't, but guess what? It would run down to Moshe how we did it. We have a custom, and we have a custom on how we make CCs. So that means now when you say, well, yo, I can put anything on that CCs, it don't really matter. The law don't tell you that. But it was taught to you how we wore our CCs. It was taught to you how they was tied and how they was knotted. It's just the fact that we said we want to shun it because it looked like people who don't look like us took it and made it there. We got to start with the nonsense. Start with the nonsense, because the nonsense is not going to get you nowhere. The congregation of the dead is not where the Creator dwelt at, y'all. The dead is what? Unclean, right? Do the Creator dwell in uncleanness? No. So that means you got to get up the nonsense and put it to the side. Dig it up and bury it. Because nonsense and foolishness won't go no longer in Israel. The more you stay with your nonsense and your foolishness, you're going to be buried along with the rest of the past. You say, I want to put my past behind me. Put those who got garbage and nonsense with them, put them behind you too. That means everybody going to be falling out the wayside. Because there's certain things that we got to put in order. And there's a proper perspective. And if we don't do those things, welcome to the congregation of the dead. I don't know about y'all, but I'm saying deuces if you want to stay in the congregation of the dead. I'm finding the congregation of the living, and I'm going to praise my king. All right? You can stay in the congregation of the dead. You got my phone number. Whenever you want to come to the congregation of the living, I'm right there. I can get you a hotel room until you get your housing situation started. All right? Other than that, don't call me, because I ain't trying to hear all your foolishness. All right? You're saying, yo, man, my community is suffering. What's the issue? They arguing about CC. Well, that's crazy. We know how to make CCs right over here. Come over here, brother. We got the good kinds too. We got the real to kill it. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on. Just not argue over foolishness, but understand what our sages brought down to us so we can live in harmony. That's the structure. All right? And so now, when we as a people deal with somebody having authority over us, we got to understand it. See, when we go into the book of Kedoshim, right? Because there's a verse right here that I want to read to you all. It says, if I can find it. It's very imperative to our situation today. Because it says, you rise with a hoary head and you revere the face of the sage. But inside the Hebrew it says you revere the face of Ha Elohim, which means the judges, the scholars, those who have wisdom and knowledge in your midst. It says you reverence their face, but you rise with a hoary head. And so now when we deal with the Sanhedrin, we got to understand who was allowed to be called sages, who was allowed to be called or be a part of the Sanhedrin, who was allowed to dictate what happened, and if you don't have that authority, you cannot make halakhic decisions. It won't happen in Eretz Yisrael. It wouldn't happen during those time frames. So now we deal with the characters. And it's brought down that every leader or every Sanhedrin or every sage, everybody part of the Sanhedrin or every sage must have the character of Moshe Rabbeinu. Shalom Allah. Peace be upon him. We say that in order to give respect to our teachers before us. All right? And so when you deal with the character of Moshe, he was what? Meek, humble, firm, strong, and full of courage. And he had a what? A connection with the Creator. And so then we deal with the Most High told Moshe, he said, and I will cause your spirit to fall upon them. Not the Creator spirit, but the spirit of Moshe. And it says that everybody who laid their hands upon another transferred that energy of Moshe into the next person. So in order to be ordained by somebody in the Sanhedrin, they had to first be ordained by somebody from Moshe Rabbeinu. If not, you don't make the cut. You can get called, you can say, yo, we got a spot, we got an opening for you. Soon as we find out, yo, so-and-so is a part of the Sanhedrin, you didn't get the cut because we found out that dude didn't get his head laid upon you. So you tricked us, so now we got to revoke your bill and we need you to pay some taxes, we need you to pay some fines for this too, because you just tricked us. Like, we got to work like this. We got to stop allowing lame people to teach Yisrael. Because people who just teach off the top of their head will lead us into innovation and will lead us to a dangerous route. It will happen. We can no longer be called the congregation of Korah. The congregation of Korah did what? Everything against the teachings of Moshe Rabbeinu. We got to start with the foolishness and the nonsense. Because as long as we do that, we won't progress. And if we don't progress, y'all, we won't make it. So we got to learn how to move as a community and stop saying, I'm going to separate or I'm going to leave because I don't want to follow somebody else's authority or somebody else's directions. See, the Sanhedrin was respectable people. The people understood their meekness. They understood they was kind. They understood also that they had knowledge and understanding. But it's for us to realize that as well and stop condemning everybody who we see made a fault. Did Moshe Rabbeinu not murder somebody? True or fact? True? Okay. Did Abraham not marry his sister? True, right? All right. Did David not commit adultery? Not just commit adultery, but murder somebody? True. So we see when we go inside the Torah, a lot of people got a bad resume. But the Creator still what? Blessed them and used them. Most I said what? Touch not my anointing and do what? My prophet no harm. Right? So understand that if somebody has been inspired to do something for the Creator, it is not by their own understanding. Because the Creator said what? Everything comes from me. Whether it be good or what? Or evil. He said, I use the wicked man for the time of wicked. Right? So that means everything that somebody do don't mean that it comes from something of their own understanding. Because the Creator said, man move off their own understanding, but I have the final say. Why? Because he's the king. And he'll always get his way. So just because you have a leadership or you have leaders who's not doing what they're supposed to do, guess what? That's what the Creator to deal with. Correct or wrong? Because you begin to start going about your own thing, you can get in trouble. How do we know that? When we look at Melech Dawid and we look at Melech Shaul, David said, I will not lay a hand against the servant of the Lord. Even though he knew the Most High Spirit was not with him no more, he said the anointing oil was still upon his head. He said, I ain't going to mess with him because that's a servant of the Lord. Understand these concepts that our fathers dealt with. You got to dig these things because we don't begin to realize these things and respect these things. We're going to find ourselves in foolishness and in trouble. So if you commit yourself to a congregation, or you commit yourself to a monument, or you commit yourself to a Knesset, whatever you want to call it, respect the leadership. Respect it. Because you signed yourself. You there. Respect it. And if you don't, be a part of the congregation of Hatorah. And they're the congregation of the day. But understand, that's why the Creator said judges and officers and all your brothers. Because when the leader do something, then what? You can bring it to court, but it's not for you as an individual, as a layman, to do what? Bring judgment upon that person. It's not for you. It's for those officers and those judges and those other leaders who are part of that organization. Then they come and say, you're in error. You either want to get revoked or you're going to get yourself straightened up. Because the Lord says, no respect of person. No matter the title, no matter the riches, or no matter how poor they are, no respect of person. So that means if you have a leader who deserves 40 stripes, guess what? 40 stripes coming to him. The same thing with the poor bull. 40 stripes, give it to him. We got to stop asking, well, what made him do this? Don't worry about why he did it. Keep on the law. Get the punishment done and keep moving on. His decision is between him and the Creator. There is a way of Hatorah Hashem, and there's a way of Hatorah Ami. The way between the people and the way between you and the Creator. What happens on the forefront is between you and the people. What happens behind closed doors and all the mindset behind it between you and the Creator. That's the final and the last say. Other than that, we got to keep moving on. Because we don't want to be stuck into foolishness, bro. We got to move forward. And after we get past foolishness, that's what? We can celebrate. We can come a national holiday. We can have a party at my house. We can do house party 4. We can do it all. You know what I'm saying? We just got to get everything right. And we good. We good. And that's how we got to move. That's how we got to order ourselves. All right? And then when we go into the, I'm about to be real slow, y'all. All right, yeah, here we go. Because there's certain things that really got to be understood. You have two characteristics. You have Ta'anim and you have Amorim. The Ta'anim are the sages. They are the transmitters of the law. Those are the ones who made the last and final halakhic decision. The Amorim are their students who debate